Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Council's opening affirmation is: we, the Council Laws of Loddon Shire, declare that we will carry out our duties in the best interests of our community, and through collective leadership we will maintain the highest standards of good governance.
The Loddon Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land upon which we are gathered and pays its respects to elders both past and present. Please be seated.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald, and welcome to our July Council meeting. We've been very busy over the past few months, and as most will remember, we did change our June meeting. We brought that forward for our National General Assembly. So it's been a number of weeks now since we've been back in the chamber for our open council meeting. And I would like to welcome everybody back to the chamber. Welcome to our council laws. I know we've had council laws been tripping around the world, and also welcome back to our CEO. And welcome to our gallery, both here in Wedderburn and to all of the community joining us via the online stream. We will now continue to move on with today's agenda. And firstly, we have no apologies to note today. Is there any conflicts of interest to declare from any council laws? No? Excellent. We'll move on to our minutes of previous. We'll take those minutes as being read and firstly ask if there was any questions, queries or comments regarding the minutes of previous. If not, do I have a councillor prepared to move a motion that those minutes are true and correct? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. To have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Show of hands in favour, and those minutes are carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to 6.1, the record of Council's auspice meetings, and I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald to please run us through those auspice meetings, and then we'll move a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, the governance rules of Loddon Shire Council require a record of meetings conducted under the auspices of Council to be presented at the next available scheduled meeting. The record must include which council officers and council laws attended the meeting, a summary of the matters which were considered at that meeting, and a record of any conflicts of interest that were disclosed during those meetings. Within this report, you will find two of those summaries, and the recommendation of the report is that Council confirm the records of the following auspiced meetings as detailed within this report. 1, the Council briefing held 16 June 2026, and 2, the Council forum held 14 July 2026. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, two auspice meetings listed there. Is there a councillor prepared to move a motion that those auspice meetings be noted? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A show of hands in favour, and they're carried. Moving on to 7.1, the review of the actions, and Mr Fitzgerald, could you please take us through the action sheet review and the recommendation?
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. Councillors, a document containing the status of actions associated with council resolutions is attached to this agenda report. No actions were outstanding prior to the June 2026 council meeting, and 4 actions that arose from the June 2026 council meeting resolutions have been acted upon. One of those actions is progressing and it will be deemed complete after the August forum. The action relates to Council's media and social media policy, and the resolution there was that councillors wanted to have another look at that and workshop it further. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the status of Council resolution actions as attached to this report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, was there any questions, queries or comments regarding that action sheet? If not, a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation that we receive and note? Thank you again, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Seconder, thank you, Councillor Holt. Show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving along to our reports, and I will start with my mayoral report. And it has been a busy busy few weeks. I will touch more on our annual General Assembly later in today's agenda, but as mentioned, Council did bring our meeting forward, our June meeting forward to the 16th of June. We brought that a week forward so Council Laws could attend the annual general meeting in Canberra, and this is a fairly important week in local government across Australia, and I will touch more on that in our report later, but the week of the 22nd through 26th was spent in Canberra advocating on all things local government and representing Loddon, and I was joined by my colleagues Councillor Wilson and Councillor Angelo in Canberra for the week. When I returned home on Friday the 26th, I spent the night at Serpentine with a great Serpentine community dinner, and that was also a little bit of a workshop too about some future planning arrangements happening in the community, and it was very well attended, and a lot of the community come out to not just enjoy some great pizzas and a nice warm wood fire in the Serp club footy rec reserve club rooms there, but also to talk and engage with their neighbours and fellow community members. So it was very positive night. On the 1st of July, I travelled to Melbourne with other council representatives to take part in a meeting with Minister Lily D'Ambrosio regarding renewable energy transmission lines and renewable energy power to prosecute our council document that we have noted as a really handy tool to put some demands forward to help mitigate the impacts to council with renewable projects. This document you would have heard me talk about in the past that nor supports or objects to any of these projects at this point in time, but sets the roadmap and tries to determine some levers that need to be pulled so council can have the best outcomes for our communities moving forward, e.g. Road infrastructure, trunk infrastructure for housing development, protection of agricultural land, and that's something that I've been talking a lot on, is that agricultural justice piece and the protections that we need to protect our food bowl, and getting the powers above local government's been in the conversation for a long time, but getting the powers above in the way of state and federal government to show some leadership and put in some real constraints that sets that roadmap out to cohabitate some of these projects while really protecting what drives our rural areas, and that's food and fibre production. So you'll hear myself and other councillors talk about that in depth as these things keep evolving, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes in that respect, and I'll try and keep the community updated as we move on. There's been a few things happening, but a couple of more exciting for me meetings that I've had was an invitation to the Wedderburn Lions Club changeover dinner that happened at the Wedderburn Golf Course on the 17th. Thank you to the Lions Club for all you do in the community, and it was great to be part of your special dinner. And then in Pyramid Hill last Friday, the 24th, it was great to join the Pyramid Hill senior citizens for their Christmas in July, and that was very well put on function and very well attended by community, and also welcomed some senior citizens from Kahuna that come down for the day too. So a lot of work in there, but equally like to celebrate those great achievements with our community at some of these important community dinners that take place. So, councillors, thank you. I will leave my mayoral report there, and I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move that mayoral report be noted. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to our council law reports, 9.1, and I'm going to start today with Councillor Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, a fortnight ago, I attended a forum where we started to work on some of the things that will be coming before us today. And then later in the month, I met with Mayor Straub and the Shadow Federal Water Minister Michael McCormick and member for Mallee, Dr. Anne Webster, and we were discussing the severe effects that water buybacks have had on our communities. We toured Climo's new state-of-the-art dairy at Calival, and that was just amazing to see what they've developed there, and it's a really impressive setup that they've got. Work is progressing well on the tennis court fencing as part of the Little Lake Port foreshore upgrades. The old fence has been removed and they had the new posts for the boundary fencing in yesterday, and I saw the electrician there this morning starting to get organised for the lighting of forecourts, which will be wonderful. On Friday the 17th of July, I met with David Stretch at the Australian Sheep and Wool Show, with just exploring the possibility of maybe setting up our Loddon information trailer there next year. We had a good look around, and that was, something that we will seriously consider, I think, going forward. And it was a good day. And I think that's about all from me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. You definitely have been very busy, and it's been great to spend some time in the car with you too on a few of those outings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Community group meetings, Bridgewater on Loddon Development and the Inglewood Development and Tourism Committee. Both those very strong committees are working tirelessly on their community plans and the review of their community plans. Inglewood is also working on the Inglewood Alive Festival, which is very exciting in terms of their committee and looking at how that's all coming together for the year. Had the Kiora Women's Dinner for the month, which is a terrific group of women. There's generally between 30 and 40 women who come together at the Bridgewater Hotel, and there's a guest speaker. Last month it was Jude Hannah. The Campbell's Forest had their first supper club last Sunday night. If you haven't seen it, look on my Facebook page. Fantastic Italian supper, all sorts of food. Great call out to Judy Wilson for her cassata, which was just amazing. I got to attend ALGA as the delegate for voting on the some 234 motions that went up. Thank you, Councillor Holt, for allowing me the privilege of being there to vote on all of those. I too went to the Sheep and Wool show for the first time in my life. As a councillor wearing my councillor badge, but also as a private citizen. Just an amazing show, and the biggest one in the Southern Hemisphere. The other thing, one of my delegated duties as councillor was to be on the Calder Improvement Committee, which really didn't go anywhere in the first 2 years that I've been engaged with the council, simply because one of the key councils involved in it actually got from the federal government the funding they wanted for the Calder, so it's all fallen apart. But I'm very pleased to say that we are looking to reform that committee, and we've got a meeting this week with regards to the reformation of that, which will really be concentrating on councils from Hume to Mildura. So look out for where we go with that. That's probably about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. We'll go to Councillor Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I'll start off with Canberra. Some good motions put forth there, and some good conversations. I myself had conversations with NBN and Telstra up there, so looking forward to a bit more action in that department in Loddon Shire. What else? Okay, on the 9th of the 7th, I did have a catch up with the Director of Operations here in Newbridge to talk about some possible road projects and whatnot down my neck of the woods. Of course, I was here for forum on the 14th of the 7th, and of course I'm here again today. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. And I'll finish with Councillor Holt.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Since our last council meeting, Mr Mayor, I've been out of the Loddon bubble, and it's given me an opportunity to recharge the batteries, but also to spend a bit of thinking about Loddon and where it's heading and how we might be able to improve what we do. And in the coming months, I'll be discussing with the council some of the things that I think we should be attending to going forward. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Thank you, councillors. We've all been very busy, and even one went on holidays. The council work does not stop, and I think we've all dedicated to those roles that we do deliver that sort of dedication to our communities. So in saying that, do I have a councillor prepared to move those council reports? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Wilson. A show of hands in favour, and they are carried. Thank you very much, councillors. We will continue to move on, and we've got 3 reports for decision today, councillors. Our first decision report is 10.1, Planning Application 6074, the use and development of the land for animal production, duck farm and hatchery, a dwelling and associated earthworks, e.g. dams. And I'll throw to Director Van Orso to please deliver the report and recommendation regarding the application.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. This report relates to a planning permit application for the use and development of land at Forest Lane, Appin South, for a duck farm and hatchery, a dwelling, and associated earthworks. The application has been subject to assessment in accordance with the Planning and Environment Act, including public notification, which resulted in 4 objections raising matters such as amenity, flooding, biosecurity and environmental impacts. The proposal was also referred to the North Central Catchment Management Authority. While the authority initially raised concerns, amended plans were submitted and conditional consent has been provided. Notwithstanding the referral response, the assessment has identified several key planning issues, particularly relating to flood-prone nature of the site, potential impacts on water quality, biosecurity risks associated with proximity to waterways and existing operations, and the overall suitability of the land for this type of intensive animal production. Having regard to the Loddon planning scheme and the characteristics of the site, the proposal is not considered appropriate in planning terms. Please take the 4-part recommendation as provided within today's council meeting agenda pack. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van Orso. And council notes that we have been addressed by the applicant and the objectors as per protocol to planning matters of this nature when there is objections lodged, and council has had a robust look through all details provided to make informed decisions, and I'd like to open it to councillors for firstly any last minute questions if there is any. If not, we'll move to proceed and ask for a mover to a motion. If I have a mover, thank you, Councillor Weaver. Let's move to a motion to the recommendation presented. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, as the mover, would you like the opportunity to speak to your motion?
Oh, look, Mr Mayor, I think we've been through it a fair bit today, but I just think that there's enough concerns there that I think we should, I'm in favour of this recommendation. That'll do. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo as the seconder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think that the concept of this is great. I just think it's the wrong location. So that's why I'm going the way I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have other councillors wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Holt first. Councillor Holt speaking against?
No, I'm speaking for, Mr Mayor.
For? Thank you, Councillor Holt.
Planning matters that come for decision before this council, I find some of the most difficult work that we do. This one has got a double whammy because our officers, with their expertise, have recommended to refuse the application. And we are reluctant to override an officer's decision. We have done it, but it's something that we don't often do. However, on the other hand, this is a pro-development council, and my instinct in these matters, if somebody is attempting a development which will generate income and employment in the Loddon Shire, my instinct is always to support that. So this becomes a challenging one. However, I've listened to the arguments. I'm particularly taken by Councillor Weaver's knowledge of the area and his view as the mover of the motion, and in Councillor Angela's view as the seconder of the motion, that whilst this is a worthwhile project, it is completely inappropriately located. That being the case, Mr Mayor, I'm going to support the recommendation to refuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. And I also had Councillor Wilson speaking against.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I feel compelled to speak against this motion, notwithstanding the great respect I have for council officers and their expertise, and the expertise and knowledge of that local area that Councillor Weaver has. I cannot support this decision. Objections have been made by people that are farming currently in that area who have altered land when there has been flooding by building levees around their properties, by using tractors and equipment over roads that are flooding, and have said that if more tractors are allowed to use roads over flooding, we can, but if other people do, that'll damage the roads. That doesn't seem a very consistent view of the world. I think that if council starts, or even historically had objected to development along the Loddon River, we wouldn't have the incredible agricultural farming community and environment that we have. And yes, we do get flooding, but I'm concerned that we think that a flooding incident that could last for a few weeks should be the reason why we should stop a business operating for a number of years when it's not flooding. I also note one of the other objections was about dust. So on the one hand we've got dust, and on the other hand we've got so much water it's inundation. There's a lot of reasons why we should do these things, and there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't. But I think I really find it difficult for me as a councillor to be wanting to stop somebody who wants to have a go at developing a business when we have along the Loddon River a whole lot of other businesses that are subject to flooding. We talk about effluent in these objections. Again, I've asked the questions about what is the current farming that's going along. Sheep and cattle. Well, duck effluent, sheep effluent, cow effluent. It's all effluent. So I'm not sure about what the difference in effluent is. Look, I may be naive, but again, I come back to really feeling that I can't support not allowing this business to try and run their business the way they want to. So for that reason, I object and I would call for a division. Thank you. Your Honour.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson, and you can call for a division after the vote has been cast. Councillor Weaver, as the mover, you have the opportunity to sum up debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I haven't got a problem with the concept at all, and I am very pro-development and agriculture. My only problem is with the location, and that's why I'm voting this way, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. We have had a good debate, and now I'll put it to the vote. And firstly, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour of the recommendation that's been moved. Against? And that is carried. Councillor Wilson?
I'd like to call for a division.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilson has called for a division, so once again, I would ask please to raise your hand if you're voting in favour. And against? Thank you. That motion has been carried 3-2. Thank you, councillors. We will continue to move on, and we have our next decision report, 10.2, our strategic planning, strategic document and policy review. And I'll ask Director Van also to please deliver the report and recommendation following.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. This report brings together the outcomes of the review of three important strategic documents: the Rural Zones Review, the Settlement Strategy, and the Heritage Loans Scheme Policy and Procedure. I'm pleased to report that all three documents remain relevant, effective, and aligned with Council's strategic direction. They continue to provide a strong framework for managing rural land use, supporting growth in our townships, and protecting our heritage assets. The review found that significant progress has already been made in delivering the actions identified in these documents, and that they continue to provide value to our communities. Whilst there are some opportunities for future improvements, no major changes are required at this time. The recommendation before Council is to adopt the findings of the reviews and extend the review dates for all three documents to 2030. This recognises that the strategies and policy are working well and continue to deliver value to our communities. We will also be looking at ways to better promote awareness of the Heritage Loan Scheme policy so that property owners can access support to protect and restore significant heritage properties, helping to preserve the character and history that makes our towns unique. The recommendation before you is that Council resolve to, number 1, update the Rural Zones Review 2012, transferring the responsibility for the strategy to the Director of Operations and extending the review date to 2030. Number 2, update the Settlement Strategy 2020, transferring the responsibility for the strategy to the Director of Operations and extending the review date to 2030. Number 3, update the Heritage Loan Policy 2024, removing reference to the Reserve Fund and update the review date to 2030. And number 4, undertake further promotion of the Heritage Loan Scheme, including the development of targeted promotional materials. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, we have that four-part recommendation. We've got a fairly substantial document with the power of work that's been undertaken, and we have had a good look through the document and understand the recommendation put forward. Firstly, is there any questions, late questions? If not, sorry, Councillor Holt with a question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I noticed that this matter was discussed at the July forum. Now, I was absent from that forum. I've got a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Mr Mayor.
Yeah.
In relation to 1 and 2, what's the purpose of transferring responsibility for those two strategies to the director? Transferring it from whom? And
That's
the reason?
a very good question, and we'll throw to the director for an explanation. Director Van also.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. The transferring the responsibilities from the officer to the director, just at this point in time, just gives myself as the Director of Operations oversight of these policies to ensure that we deliver and make sure that they're reviewed before the due date and are reviewed well before the due date and brought back forward to council. So essentially giving me closer oversight of these policies.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Holt.
The second one, Mr Mayor, the Heritage Loan Scheme, what's been the uptake in the last couple of years?
Thanks, Councillor Holt. Another good question. Director Van also.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. There's been no uptake with respect to the Heritage Loan Scheme. Council officers have had some inquiry, but no uptake. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councillor Holt. Was no further questions? In that case, I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move a motion. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, as the mover, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. We got to review these papers at Forum. It's an enormous piece of work that's been undertaken here. And to Councillor Holt's question about the Heritage Loan Scheme policy, it's disappointing that it hasn't been made use of. And so I'm very pleased with Director Van Orso's points about putting out some promotional material and monitoring perhaps the usage and uptake of that, and understanding a bit more about why it hasn't been taken up is a really positive aspect. But an enormous piece of work that's been done here, and I wouldn't want to be responsible for doing it or having to do it more than about once every 6 years. So I commend this.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver as a seconder.
No, thank you.
Any further councillor wishing to speak for? No one against? Show of hands in favour? And that is carried. We'll move on to 10.3. The Bort Foreshore Recreation Precinct and the proposed Stage 3. And I'll ask Director Gladman, please, to take us through the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this report seeks your direction on the final stage of the Little Lake Bort Foreshore Recreation Project and how best to utilise the remaining project funding. This project has been progressing over a number of years through a staged approach. Since its commencement in 2020, Council has endorsed the master plan, supported several community plan funding applications and successfully secured external funding for a number of the key project elements. As a result, significant components of the master plan have either been completed or are currently underway, including the youth activity space or the skate park, the LED lighting at the tennis club fencing and the earlier works associated with the Bowls Club synthetic surface. Officers have now reviewed the remaining elements of the master plan alongside the funding still available, and while approximately $350,000 remains within the project budget, this is insufficient to deliver all of the outstanding components of the master plan. Current prospects for securing additional grant funding are also considered limited, particularly following Council's recent funding successes. Accordingly, the report presents three options for Council's consideration: to cease the remaining works and return the uncommitted funding to the Bort Ward Community Planning Reserve, to retain the funding and continue seeking future external grant opportunities, or to refine the remaining scope to match the available funding, complete the highest priority works and formally close the project. This option is the officer's recommendation. We consider that option 3 provides the best balance between delivering community outcomes and achieving a practical and deliverable project outcome within the available funding. It enables Council to complete the project within existing resources while delivering the highest priority remaining improvements, and those include the Historic Park redevelopment, the Croquet Club amenities, storage and shelters, traffic movement improvements and selected pathway connections. Some infrastructure items such as the Federation Walk redevelopment and some additional car parking would not be abandoned. Instead, we would transition them into Council's infrastructure rolling program for future consideration through the normal capital works planning process. This approach allows us to maximise the benefit of the remaining funding, minimise ongoing administration, provide certainty to the community and formally close a project that has now been progressing over several years. The recommendation before you today is that Council endorse the delivery of the final stage of the Lake Bort Foreshore Recreation Precinct project as detailed in option 3 in this report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Councillors, was there any questions, late questions? Councillor Wilson?
Sorry, I'm not sure if we went through this when we discussed this at forum, but have we asked the community planning group which option they prefer?
We haven't returned specifically to that community planning group. So we've gone through, we've actually approached the service users, so the Croquet Club and the users around that space, around what their priorities were. So we've based this recommendation on the priorities of the user groups.
So does this sit in the Bort Community Plan?
This sits as a council project that had community planning funding initially.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. No further questions. I'll ask if a councillor prepared to move a motion to the effect of recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Just before, we'll need to get a seconder. Councillor Wilson, thank you. Councillor Weaver.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Straub. It would have been great, of course, to get government funding to do everything that was on the original plan, but we can't wait forever. And so we're not forgetting about those parts of the project, but we're going to complete what we've got funding for now to get some things ticked off, because I think the community's a bit sick of waiting for some of it. We just have to keep advocating for more funding for our precious little communities. I think the groups that we've spoken to, and I have met with Director Gladman and some of her officers up there, we've spoken to the groups, and this is the best way we can get some stuff, get some runs on the board, so to speak, and get some of these projects finished instead of them all just sitting there, because as we know, the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson?
I just think that'll be a great outcome for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor wishing to speak for? Councillor Angelo?
I just think going with option 3 and just pushing through and finishing, you know, the community is going to be able to enjoy it and make full use of it. So, yeah, well done.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. No further councillor wishing to speak? No. Thank you. It is a very special place, as many places around Loddon. Bort is definitely a very special place, and this project has been under development for the last few years, and it's really coming to fruition and looking great, and the community are really getting the benefit. So well done, Councillor Weaver. I'll put this to the vote and ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to our information report today. We've only got the one information report. 11.1 is the 2026 National General Assembly of Local Governments Conference outcomes. And firstly, I will go to Mr. Fitzgerald to deliver or open the report, and then we'll throw to the council group for some input into this discussion this afternoon.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, the Australian Local Government Association hosts the National General Assembly annually, bringing together councils from across Australia to advocate directly to the Australian Government on issues of national significance affecting local government and the communities that they serve. This year, more than 1,100 local government leaders from across Australia attended the 32nd National General Assembly held in Canberra from the 23rd to the 25th of June. The National General Assembly is the peak national forum for local government, and it provides an opportunity for councillors to share knowledge and experiences with other councillors, to discuss emerging challenges, influence national policy and advocate. This year, Mayor Councillor Dan Straub, Councillor Mickey Wilson and Councillor Nick Angelo attended the 2026 Regional Forum and the National General Assembly representing Loddon Shire, and contributing to the discussions on issues that affect rural communities. The recommendation of the report today is that Council notes the attendance and outcomes from the 2026 Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly held in Canberra from the 23rd to the 25th of June 2026. And Mr Mayor, I might just add that I'm assuming that the councillors may wish to add a bit more during debate about the actual content and their attendance. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Yes, this report for noting, I will open to councillors, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Angelo, to contribute to the conversation in this report, noting that we were but 3 of 1,100 local government representatives present in Canberra for the week, one of the, if not the biggest attendance in many, many years of National General Assembly, with every local government area around Australia present at the forum. And there was a number of things that happened over that week. So I'd like to firstly invite Councillor Angelo to say a few words on this report with your take on your attendance and what you got up to whilst we were at the Assembly.
All right, thank you, Mr Mayor. As previously stated there, I had a few conversations over a few days there with Telstra and NBN in regarding to the service across Loddon Shire, or the lack thereof, in a lot of cases. There was a lot of stalls there, and there were some young ladies there. I'm pretty sure it was Shedway, mental health for shearers. Love to see them come down to Loddon Shire. Some good motions put forth, and of course it's always good to meet people from different councils and see how they're doing things differently. I did have a good conversation. I was pretty sure it was the CEO of Tamworth in regards to their recycling schemes up there, and as I recall, this was all community driven, their recycling side of it up there, so that'd be another nice thing to see pushed out across Loddon Shire. They were inundated with push bike wheels, and they found a place that made wheelchairs So they donated all the wheels to them. So, you know, there's a way of stopping stuff going into landfill that could be reused. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Straw. Notwithstanding the weather that you deal with in Canberra, it was pretty fine and happy and warm ALGA conference. A lot of motions. The breadth and depth of council issues and trying to bring that down to a set of motions that can go forward to represent the whole of Australia, I'm not sure how successful that is, and unfortunately we don't get a report back on, I think, where we got with the motions from last year. In terms of, I think one of the things that is happening though that is fantastic, and I think it's happening in politics generally, there is a recognition that rural Australia misses out and that regional and rural Australia needs a fair share of what's going on in this country, and we currently don't have it. And that, I think, was something that came home at ALGA, that really there needs to be more equity about funding. So where there were some motions that were very city-centric and you thought, gosh, if only we had that problem to deal with, you know, bless metropolitan counterparts, but it really, with the recognition of the plight of the inequities for regional and rural councils, I think came home. So that was very pleasing to see. All in all, it's a very good event with a lot of information. A lot of, as Councillor Angelo says, a lot of exhibitors who, if you had the money, wow, you could do amazing things. But, you know, you've just got to have the money, don't you? Anyway, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. There was a lot happening, and I know you were very busy. Councillor Angelo was very, very busy, and this year Councillor Holt and Councillor Weaver were unable to attend, but have attended in years past and have really flown the flag for Loddon, which has been great. And this year was no different, with Councillor Wilson as our voting delegate, and Councillor Angelo done a tremendous job networking with a lot of those key players like Telstra and NBN and other sponsors and council laws over the week. One thing that was a take-home for me in particular, which is noted in the agenda pack, and we talk here in Loddon about the cost of renewal and the depreciation gap of our big range of assets, and it's pretty prevalent that is consistent across every local government area in Australia. And some of the figures quoted, that local government asset base is currently worth $497 billion, but the estimated replacement cost of those assets is $730 billion. So we struggle a lot here in Loddon to find the money to renew our assets and replace assets where needed. It's constant across every municipality in Australia, and that gap, I think, with the current funding models is unachievable. We go into the Assembly, and the Assembly was held under the banner of Stronger Together, Resilient, Productive and United. Well, I actually did see a lot of that this Assembly, especially at our Rural Forum on the Tuesday, and it was really good to see the rural councils across Australia standing up and saying, hang on a minute, we are being left behind. We need more support, and we need you, the federal government, to stop making promises and actually start acting. I spent a lot of my time in meetings with our partnership groups, again, flying the flag for Loddon, and some of those meetings consisted of meeting with Chris Bowen, regarding energy transition and renewables. Christy McBain, the Minister for Regional Development and Local Government, again, to just reiterate that we are getting the raw end of the stick across rural Victoria when it comes to the steamrolling effect of this renewable transition. And we've got some fairly hefty demands laid out in our readiness document, our resource ready document, that we're at the point of saying, you must do this. We need that support within our local governments. We also met with Toby Walker, the advisor to the Honourable Murray Watt, Minister for Water, and we also met with Andrew McConville, and this is talking about Murray-Darling Basin, and out of those meetings we did leverage a sit-down meeting with the environmental water holder, and this was all in the guise of our big advocacy piece around Murray-Darling Basin and the impacts that the Murray-Darling Basin has had on our irrigation sector across the municipality. The Murray-Darling Basin Plan was always an environmental water plan, and it did forget the communities that surround and feed off that productive water use through our agricultural sector, and to the point where they threw out the socio-economic neutrality document that was meant to safeguard communities in irrigation areas. And we've been asking and advocating and near on demanding that they take notice of local government in these conversations and make sure that we are at the forefront of further water conversations when we see Murray-Darling Basin version 2 be formed after this current review period. So those meetings were very beneficial. It's something that I've briefed council and the community on a number of times. But we did hear and spoke to a lot of communities, a lot of mayors, a lot of councillors, a lot of CEOs that are experiencing exactly the same things that we're experiencing here in Loddon. And we've continuously put motions up for better financial sustainability. Again, that was probably the biggest conversation in the room. And we are starting to get some traction. Before we put the motion to the vote, just to note this report, which we do every year, some of the key leaders in Australia that addressed the Assembly and that we met with as Loddon Shire councillors was Her Excellency, the Honourable Miss Sam Mostyn, AC, who is the Governor-General of Australia. She addressed the Assembly. We also had, in the auditorium, we had the Honourable Catherine King MP, the Honourable Christy McBain MP, the Honourable Claire O'Brien MP. We also heard from the Honourable Julian Hill MP. Mr Jamie Chaffey MP is the Shadow Minister for Local Government at this time. Senator Andrew Bragg, Senator the Honourable Matt Canavan, Leader of the National Party, and the ACT Chief Minister Andrew Barr, MLA. So they were very significant people to have in the room at the Assembly. And then we attended the gala dinner and we were addressed by the Prime Minister of Australia, Mr Anthony Albanese. So we got in front of some of those very influential leaders and obviously our Prime Minister while we were in Canberra. And I think we all come away maybe a little bit underwhelmed with some of the Assembly's content, but very impressed and very worthwhile with what we achieved in the way of our meetings, networking, and really communicating our wants, needs and concerns for Loddon residents while we were there in Canberra. So I will put the report to rest and ask if we've got a councillor please to move to that report being noted and tabled. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Holt.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I did have a question or
Yes, sorry.
regarding the motion. I listened to the councillors who attended reports, and I completely concur that the load regarding the rollout of Australia's renewable energy program is falling disproportionately on rural Australia. I would accept that. What I do question is, all across the world, governments are experiencing the same problem as we are here at Loddon. They do not have the income to be able to deliver what they either would like to deliver or what the community might expect them to deliver. The question though is, well then what's the answer? We know the problem, what's the answer? And I hear very little discussion around answers, but I hear a lot of discussion about problems. Now, I've got some views on answers, which I'm not going to go into here at this council meeting, but the point I'm making, Mr Mayor, is you did hear that Loddon's not alone, that all the people you interacted with were experiencing similar problems. The problem is that the governing bodies external to Loddon that provide Loddon with funds, i.e. the Australian government and the Victorian state government, have both got the same problem. They are in debt and they are unable to deliver on what either they promise or is expected of them. And that's going to impact on Loddon. Mark my words, as we go forward, that's going to impact on us because a day of reckoning is coming. Okay? So I think we need to keep that in mind here at Loddon, and keep that in mind here in Loddon. I'm pretty confident that the Commonwealth Financial Assistance Grants Scheme will continue to be robust. But outside of that, the other 1/3 of our income, taking rates and charges as a third, fags as a third, I'm rounding this out, the other 1/3 of our income is going to come under very serious threat. And the answer is not to talk about what we're going to deliver. The answer is to talk about how are we going to fund it, and if we can't fund it, as my mother would say, you cut your suit to fit your cloth. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. I'll take that as a statement with that question in the middle, and I think a big part of what we're doing is making sure that we're not left behind and we have the resources to continue to deliver at a local government level. And I know I've already been moved and seconded, but Councillor Wilson with a question or a comment.
Just a comment, thank you, Mayor. And to Councillor Holt's point, I think one of the things that I observed in the motions and movements at ALGAR was a lot of the motions were proposing functions and roles for local government where a hole or a gap or a lack of ability has been created by state and federal government. And I think the thing that was really pleasing to see was most of those motions got voted down. What I'm saying is that local government is recognising they can't take on the problems of the world. They've got to, as Councillor Holt would say, stick to their knitting. And I think there's a recognition coming that we do need to stick to our knitting, and that if state and federal governments aren't doing their jobs properly, how on earth are we going to do it? And so I think that's why a lot of the motions got voted down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And knowing that we've strayed a little bit from process, but this is an information report, I'll go back to Councillor Angelo as our mover and ask if you're wishing to speak to the motion?
No further comment. Thank
But sorry, I did miss those hands up during questions. Councillor Wilson, any more to add as the seconder?
No, thank you, Mayor Straw.
Do I have any other councillors wishing to speak for? No one against? Show of hands in favour? And that is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. And being an information reporter, I think that was a really good, robust conversation that sort of lets the community in a little bit more to how we think and how we make the decisions on their behalf, on your behalf. And we strive to do that to the best of our ability, as our affirmation states. Councillors, we have no compliance reports today. Likewise, we have no matters that have been admitted as urgent business, and we have no confidential items to consider. So, councillors, it has come to the time. Sorry, Councillor Holt.
Mr Mayor, you can rule on this. Mr Mayor, you can rule on this, but I was hoping to be able to ask a question regarding today's meeting whilst this meeting's still open to the public. I just wanted a clarification on a matter.
Yeah, regarding something we've decided on already.
Regarding our review of the rural zones review and our settlement strategy review, a very big piece of work. We made a couple of very, very minor decisions here today, but are the recommendations in that review, they haven't been formally put? Have they been formally put to the council?
Thank you, Councillor Holt. And yes, I will rule to accept the question, being we don't usually revert back to an issue, but I think clarification of the question you're asking is just a clarification,
yes.
And I will refer to the CEO to make that clarification before we close today's meeting.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. The settlement strategy, the heritage loan scheme and the rural zones review, and I would probably take your advice on that one, they are previously adopted strategies, so the council has endorsed the actions within them. Today's resolution, which has been made, is that we've essentially undertaken a review and said that that work is still valid and there are still actions to undertake, and we've asked the council to extend those strategies and policies.
Yeah.
So those actions that are outstanding will continue to be an action we're required to undertake as council staff on behalf of council and the community. Does that answer your question, Councillor Holt?
Look, thank you for allowing that. Thank you for allowing that, Mr Mayor, because there are some significant shifts in there, very significant, in particular in relation to rezoning land. And I just wanted to make sure that we've reviewed those very, very important documents, but we haven't actually adopted those specific changes that are being suggested. I just wanted to make that clear to the public.
Yeah, and
Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holden. Relevant being that you were unable to attend forum when we did question the planning department on some of these, and I again questioned that this morning to get some clarifications, and it's still a live document.
Thank you.
So no, I did allow that question because I think I knew where you were going with that, and it's great clarification for the community to be aware. So in saying that, thank you all. It's been another great meeting today, and I will now declare the meeting closed at 4:06 p.m. And thank you to the gallery here in the chamber in Wedderburn, and thank you to everyone that has joined online through the video stream.
Sorry, that was a phone call from the wrong side.